Hey everybody, it's Nathan from the Oregon Brewery Running Series. I'm down here on this beautiful sunny day in Portland, Oregon, at Portland Running Company at Southeast Grand and, what is this, Morrison out here?
Grand and Morrison, yes.
Grand and Morrison, the foot of the Morrison Bridge. And I'm talking with co-owner Dave Harkin.
Hi, Nathan.
How are you?
I'm great. It's always
Awesome.
sunny down here on Grand and Morrison, by the way.
It's always sunny. Is it sunnier on Grand and Morrison, or is it sunnier on Shoals and your other store location?
Nimbus. I think you're going to say, is it sunnier on Grand and Morrison or on Morrison and Grand?
Yeah.
This is more dynamic down here by far, weather-wise. Get a little more sun, a little more wind.
A little more wind.
A little more everything.
Great spot to run in this fine city of ours, Portland.
Yeah.
Portland, Oregon. So before we jump into this hard-hitting interview where I'm going to just pick Dave's brain apart and just glean all of his wisdom, we have 2 promo codes. So if you're watching this and you'd like to run one of our events for free, you can go to our website, type in PRC free, all one word, not case sensitive, and you can run for free. The first 5 people who do that get a free entry. Or if you're not fast enough, and by fast enough I mean with your clicking finger, not your legs, use PRC5 and you'll get $5 off.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
We are so generous here at the Oregon Brewery Running Series. So, Dave, I'm excited to talk to you, and you don't know this, but I moved to Portland in 2013.
Welcome to Portland.
Yes.
If I didn't say that when you got here.
Yes, thank you. 2013, so we've been here almost 3-4 years, and we moved out here for my wife's job. She was with a different company. She's now with another company. And by the way, if you want to comment, we're going to answer your comments, hopefully here. The first thing I did when we learned that we were going to move is I typed in running store, and I think I may have had the address for our house. And Portland Running Company popped up first.
All right, then.
And ever since then, I have been on the race team. I have been a regular at Thirsty Thursday. We have 3 kids now, and so it's a little bit more difficult to to make it to some of those things.
You bring those kids on into Rogue Brewery? And
I haven't yet. One time I did run with a jogging stroller down here. Met my wife, and she took our son back home. There's a little bit of a handoff there.
High
handoff
five.
there with the kids. So yeah,
that's great.
So thank you for creating this business, this community, this place where transplants can gather and can feel like home and really find like they have found their place.
Yeah, well, you have a choice, right? So you can type in that stuff and get a location, but then if you show up once and it's not what you're looking for, I don't think you stay for 4 years. I'm pretty sure you don't.
You definitely don't. And I guess I don't want to throw anybody else under the bus, but you weren't let's say this. You weren't the only running store that I visited.
What?
You weren't.
Okay. All right.
But I'm still here,
yeah.
and now I get to talk to you.
We like
so,
that.
Yeah. So how's your day going?
It's fantastic.
Yeah? Have you been for a run yet?
You know what? Today I have not run yet. I'm doing every day in May. It's not a streak.
Okay. Every day in May. I like that.
Yeah, just a way to jumpstart some training. So
sure.
This morning, I woke up very early, went over to the Beaverton store.
Okay.
Had a bunch of story things to do. And then I zipped down here for this awesome thing.
Wow.
So
that's
luckily,
exciting.
though, it was pouring rain this morning. So if I do have a choice and I can wait for the weather, I would do that.
Yeah. Well, I was up at 4:45 this morning.
That's awesome.
I was on the road by roughly 5:30, and it was miserable. And I kind of wish I would have waited, but it's awesome now. So
I think you should run exactly when you can. Oh yeah, go again.
Yeah. Exactly when you can. Exactly, because I don't think I could get out later today. So that's good running advice. Run exactly when you can.
I think so. If you put it off, if you look ahead and say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to wait for that sun break or whatever," then suddenly things get busy, especially if you have 11-month-old twins. Yes. Hypothetically, if you have
a 4-year-old
and a 4-year-old,
so it's very. Yeah.
You probably don't have a ton of choices that don't don't impact them. So
no, exactly. So my choices are either run now or don't run today. Is typically what it is. So, well, I wonder if you can take us all the way back to the year 2000.
Sure.
Which, whenever I say that, it sounds like I'm speaking about something in the future.
Well, 2001.
Okay, 2001. Okay.
Really make it.
So that's when you opened PRC. What was? How did you get into this business? I know that you're originally from Oregon, correct? You grew up here.
I'm actually from Seattle.
You're from Seattle.
I went to U of O though.
You went to Oregon. Okay.
So I've been here a long time.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, officially on the birth certificate.
It says Seattle, Washington.
Yep.
Okay. Well, how did you get into the specialty running store business? And was that a plan or a dream that you had since you were a wee boy in Seattle listening to Nirvana and Pearl Jam? Or
we did a lot of listening to Nirvana and Pearl Jam, yes.
Okay.
I think what happened was I imagined that I would have some great career in something. But
you do? What are you talking about?
I'm right, exactly. And so I was a pretty good runner, but not
Okay.
not a runner like that could make money running. Or,
Oh, I see. Okay.
Or do anything that I imagined would be worthwhile and
Sure.
financially. So I always
Okay.
thought running would be my hobby, and I would get a great job.
Okay.
And so I went into education, and I became a teacher at the high school level. And
Which
I
is a
coached.
great job.
I did. It was a great job.
Yeah.
Coached a little bit, did some really fun things.
Okay.
Moved around a little bit, Louisiana and Colorado. Came back to Seattle and realized a couple things. One, that teaching was great, but gosh, it's a lot of work, and I admire teachers immensely, but it wasn't perfect for me.
It wasn't your cup of tea. It wasn't your thing.
I would say
Okay.
that. It wasn't my water bottle of Gatorade or whatever.
Of noon, of
glucose.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it was my water bottle of glucose.
Yeah.
And so I was in the middle of trying to develop my own thing, a tutoring company or something, and in the meantime, like so many people who have worked for us, went down to my local running store and thought, oh, I could do that. That looks pretty fun. And so
Sure.
I applied, and I applied again, and I went back in like probably 15 times.
And they wouldn't hire you?
Trying to convince them that I would be an okay person at selling shoes.
I can sell somebody shoes. Come on,
I
guys.
really thought that I had it locked down. I went
Yeah.
in and I told them my PRs, which I thought was important. And I told them my knowledge of the shoes that I wore, which I thought was so important. And it turns out neither of those things played a role in what they were looking for.
What were they looking for?
A teacher.
Oh.
I mean, they were looking for somebody who could take you or anybody
Sure.
and say, ask a few questions, do some great listening like any great teacher would do.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Exactly. And then ask some great questions. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
And then come to some conclusion with them, a cooperative conclusion.
Yeah.
And so when I finally did get this job and went in, I realized, gosh, I'm teaching. Every day I've got an opportunity to take somebody who doesn't know something that I do know and teach them that.
Yeah.
And so maybe it could have been something else, but it happened to be something I was really interested in as well.
And isn't that how you define success in a career is when you're doing something you actually love and you are getting paid for it?
I think so. Yeah. The first time I got paid for working at a running store, and this has been an ongoing now 20-year joke in my head, is I'm basically a professional runner, and I'm probably doing better than most of them because mine
That's true.
isn't so much based on my performance physically as I go out and run around. It's a little bit more about my the spirit of running and the enthusiasm for running and walking. Like moving forward is our thing. So
just moving your body, moving it somewhere, getting people active, getting people enjoying Portland in this beautiful weather, which has been a bit rare for us.
It has been
us this year. So what do you I'm going to jump around questions here, but you talk about education. You talk about teaching people. You're talking about like that's your role here. How do you define success as a runner? Like, what does it mean to be a successful runner, and how do you educate people on what that means?
Well, I think for several years when I was here, I coached a group of runners who were by category 10-minute milers and slower. That was their category. So we had groups of 8 to 9 minute, 9 to 10 minute, and then we had this group of 10-minute pace and above, which is a pretty open-ended pace group.
Right. It could be 15 minutes, which is a big difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Yeah.
After 2 miles, you're 10 minutes apart. So I started in this training group, Portland Fit. I started going as a function of marketing for the store, and then ended up becoming a coach of this group, the Red Group. And people would ask me,
the subgroup of Portland Fit was the Red Group.
Exactly.
Okay.
And my wife Paula coached the group that she looks like she should coach. She coached these fast guys and girls who could run 8-minute pace all day and look like they were doing maybe a little bit different sport than a lot of people feel like they're doing.
Okay.
And so I got this other group, and at one point it was probably 400 or 500 people in the group. And so I got to firsthand every Saturday, at the very least every Saturday, and many days in the store, talk to people about the sport of running and what it means to be successful in completely different, with a completely different criteria than maybe you might use if you've run a competitive 5K or even athletes who maybe ran track in high school. These people that I coached were the unassuming masses of people that thought running or walking might be a good decision for them.
Wow.
And so every day I got to kind of come up with a metaphor or come up with a tidbit of advice or some product knowledge and then pass it on, impart the knowledge and see what it took. And it turns out when you're hungry for knowledge, a lot of stuff takes.
Yeah,
so this group grew and became experts in their respective fields as marathoners, many of them.
Wow, that's cool. Do you remember some of those nuggets of wisdom that you, or daily nuggets that you? Yeah,
I do. I had a couple of, there were so many metaphors, I don't know how to narrow them down. It's kind of my wife, Paul always says, you just come up with this stuff on the spot. I'm like, if somebody asks me about it, it's hard to come up with, but I will tell you a couple. One was, I remember one day I was driving behind a car on the way to one of our 6 a.m. meetings.
Oof. Yeah.
And I was late, and I was trying to get around this car, and I was like, man, this car's going so slow. I need to get around this car so badly, and I couldn't get around it. And around a corner, we passed a motorcycle cop who was radaring everybody. And I was positive I would have got a speeding ticket.
Wow.
I was positive. So when I went down to the group, I told that quick story, and I said, we tell you guys every week to go out easy. Go out slow. And sometimes it requires somebody in front of you to slow you down on purpose.
To push you, to hold you back.
Because the consequences are that you would, in many cases, run out of fuel, or in my case, get a speeding ticket the size of Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of those things where I would tell people all the time, it's not about how fast you go, especially at the beginning.
Right.
It's about how long you can do what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so speed is, most of us can run, 100 meters or something as fast as we want to run it. But running a marathon or a half marathon or even a 5K, as fast as we run it, has to do with how long we can put up with the
Absolutely,
pain.
Yeah. I mean, that's such good advice for any pace, any runner, any ability, wherever you're at on your running journey. One of my favorite PRC stories is we were at one of the cross-country PRC Grand Meets, and Andrew Weeding was there, the Olympian, kind of a fast dude. And it may have been Ryan or somebody was joking, like, hey, you should try to run with them. And I was like, ha. So we get to the starting line, and he's standing right next to me. I'm like, you don't get to run with an Olympian very often. Gun goes off. I take out. We are neck and neck for a good 50 yards.
That's awesome.
And then he ended up lapping me twice. And I was done by the half-mile mark, and I still had 3.5 miles left to go. So
phenomenal.
Sometimes it might be exciting to go out fast and feel that, but it doesn't do any good if you can't finish the race.
Yeah,
so,
and you asked a little bit about imparting knowledge and sort of teaching these types of things. And I think what we do sometimes, we overlook those plain old struggles of just running, or like just walking and getting from A to B. But we also know that it's a competitive and very self-satisfying activity. So
yeah, absolutely.
I never underestimate anybody. I take the slowest person, they come to me and they say, I'm just a jogger, which somehow in Portland is code for I've only run one marathon or whatever. But they say I'm just a jogger. I don't really care how fast I go. And then I see them timing themselves to the fire hydrant down their street or their same loop every week, because we know that people want to rise to the top level that they're capable of doing.
Absolutely.
So it's very subjective, very much about what you want to do. But I think it's really important to set out goals well ahead of time and not just start running or walking. Yeah. That's very difficult if you just don't have a concept of what you want to try to accomplish.
Right. You don't any sort of level set to figure out what that looks like.
Right.
Would you say PRC caters more towards that jogger type person, or towards the 16-minute 5K, more of the faster people, or everything in between, or something in between?
Yeah,
who do you see mostly walking in here?
So there's a couple phrases in the world that I despise. One is at the end of the day. I can't stand that. But also, all abilities welcome. To me, that's so broad spectrum. I mean, sure, it sounds inviting, right? All abilities welcome. Come on down. But I never mean that when I say it, so I stopped saying it. What I mean is, if you're motivated, come on down.
Okay.
If you want to get better, you're in the right place. If you want to come and pretend like you don't care, then go somewhere else where they don't care as well. But we care very much about performance and about kind of almost like peak performing. But that can mean you want to do 30 minutes for a 5K or 45 minutes for a 5K if you're a walker.
Right.
All you have to do is define it.
Sure.
And once you define it for us, that's great. I mean, we'll take anybody's money, right? Okay, we run a store. We love
full
running.
Disclosure. We will take your money.
We love running and walking. We love selling product. We love talking about product. But really, if you wanted to define what we cater to, I think it's that person who has a question mark in their minds, like, what can they do to be better at this sport? And we, as a staff, we train that way. We talk to each other that way. We try to figure out what we can do to make anybody feel confident about their goal.
Sure.
And I'm just a walker, I'm just a jogger, that's not a phrase in our store.
Right.
You are already doing your sport.
You're a runner. That's what you are. Yeah.
And we want to help people like declare their major and say, yes, I am this, and then we can help you do it. And
help them graduate in 4 years and go get a job and
in the degree in their area of study.
Right.
Right.
Running store, teaching.
Exactly.
Well, that's so cool, and I appreciate that. And I've definitely seen that over the years. The few years that I've been, a part of the store and the group is, it doesn't matter, if you're trying to break 4 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours in the marathon or whatever, that as long as you do have that goal, whatever that is, everyone gets excited about that. And it's something that's cool on the race team of, with the different age gradings or other stuff, that there is a little bit of level setting so that the Hunters and Danes of the world don't just win it year after year.
One other thing I want to note there is Paula, my wife, who is a great runner and very competitive, decided to put another goal on herself.
Oh, okay.
Just a few years back, now roughly 8 years and 4.5 months or 5 months ago.
Oh.
She decided to start running every day.
Yes, the run streak.
And at first, when she said I was going to run streak, I'll be quite honest, Paul, I apologize for this ahead of time, that I kind of thought, how hard can that be? I mean, I've run every day for segments of training where I thought I was the cat's pajamas, and I thought it was great. And she has now done that successfly for almost 8.5 years.
Is she officially in the
She's in the
National Club or
National
whatever?
Streak Registry. Yes, she is a streaker in the Streakers Association of America, I think. And she's over 3,000 days, and that's another goal. Like, you can have lots of different kinds of goals. Some people speed, some are mileage, and some are just like lifestyle goals.
Yeah. Well, what I love about that in that streaking, because it's 1 mile every day, right? At least a mile
minimum,
every day.
Or in her case, 6.8 miles a day, or whatever.
That's
roughly.
That's her mile a day.
Roughly a lot.
I've read stories about people in the hospital, like walking up and down corridors to get their mile in. But what I love about that, and going back to that success question, is, I think consistency is. Wouldn't you say that's the key to being a successful runner? Is being consistent. It doesn't necessarily have to just be around time goals, but how do you be consistent and to continue to be active? I think I'm turning 40 in a couple of years, which I'm fine with. No, really I am. But as I get older, not thinking of running as being, I'm going to do this. I'm a runner while I'm training for this thing, but it's like just a part of my life now.
Yeah. I think people often ask me if I'm a runner, and I have a hard time answering that question because I don't know what they mean.
Right.
It sounds a little bit weird to say, yeah, I'm a runner. But I think when you do it, when you get to that stage, you're embracing the fact that it's a lifestyle thing. And that's the difference between running and any other sport. Is you have to make it work, it has to work with your lifestyle. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. You're not going to go out in the rain at 5 o'clock in the morning in December for a bunch of pain and some breathlessness because you feel like you just are compelled to do it. You have to have a reason to do it.
Well, I'm just a jogger, so I'm going to do that. Yeah. When did you start running? What got you into this? Taking it way back, maybe.
I was
or you bought a running store and you decided I should figure this out.
I should probably start running. I think it sounds fun. I played some sports when I was a kid. My parents were both from Ireland, so I was really bad at basketball and baseball.
Because you're Irish?
Football. All Irish people are bad at basketball, baseball, and football. I'm pretty sure.
Bad.
I just wasn't good at the classic sports, right? So I played soccer, a ton of it, and I loved running around. I loved running around. And I tried it when I was like 11, and I thought I was a sprinter. I thought I was great at it. And then the coaches were like, hey, why don't you try a 400, which is a lap, and then why don't you try a half mile? And you should try cross country. And so by the time I was 14, I was pretty much phasing out soccer and thought running was kind of my sport.
Okay.
And it was. I mean, honestly, sometimes we talk about this. I was naturally a pretty good runner. And so I don't feel like some of the challenges that some people go through, I don't think I actually had to go through those, which is not to say that I haven't had challenges, because I have. But
they're different.
I've had a lot of challenges. Yeah. Some people might have read about those challenges for 100 days in a row last year.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but...
But yeah, so I started running around 11, I would say. That was the time when I thought I was going to be a runner. And by the time I got to high school, I thought, at 14, I was kind of the Junior Olympics guy. I was pretty serious about it.
That's awesome.
And it was great. It was fun. And I think maybe I never thought I was going to go to the Olympics, though. I thought I was going to be in a boy band or like a musical. Because I loved music, and I thought, that's really, I'll run.
What would the name of your boy band have been?
Oh, I had one. It was called Creme de la Creme.
Creme de la Creme.
It was more college, but we don't talk a lot about that.
Okay,
but, Paula talks about it sometimes. Ours. She brings it up. She doesn't mind reminding me that the band name was Creme de la Creme.
That's awesome. So I'm just looking at our comments here. John Ponterfact asked Dave to finish the sentence. The body achieves...
Well, it's longer than that, but what the mind believes or what the will believes. Okay. There's a Dick Vitale comment that I think has been distorted a little bit, and he yelled out during a tournament a long time ago, like probably 30 years ago. He's, yeah, baby, I'll tell you one thing. What the mind conceives and the will believes, the body will achieve.
Nice.
And I thought from that moment on, I was like, that Dick Vitale, he's a basketball commentator, for those of you that don't know. Was like one of the smartest comments.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that on a T-shirt here anywhere?
It is actually. John Ponterfact actually happens to be the owner of Portland Fit, which is the training group we were mentioning.
Oh,
and
okay.
So he had that somewhere.
Thank you, John.
Somewhere on a T-shirt. Somewhere I think they used a portion of that. But I think the people say running is mental, and I don't think they understand that doesn't mean you can overcome physical challenges that you just aren't capable of overcoming, but it does mean that you can prepare and believe, and almost means the opposite. If you don't believe, you're definitely not going to get it done. So,
boy,
does that make sense?
I've been there.
Everyone's been there.
Yeah,
I call that the it's sort of avenue of self-pity is my or despair.
Oh, I've been living on that avenue of self-pity. I've lived there before. I've had an apartment, a nice, how do you get through that? How do you, when your mind is, has that negative self-talk, whether it's, justified or not, how do you personally kind of get through that? And tell me how I can get through that,
Well, Nathan, sit back in your chair and think about this.
I'll take notes here.
I think you have to structure your reward system so that it makes sense even when you're in the most amount of pain, or when you're when you're deep on that avenue of despair, of building a neighborhood around yourself. And that is to say this: if you're going through it and you're questioning, why am I doing this? That's very natural. But when you don't have the answer, like at the end of a marathon, when you're saying, why am I doing this? This doesn't feel a lot better if I could just stop here rather than keep going. Yeah. I think you have to have some reward system set up for yourself that transcends the physical. And that's where it's kind of mental. I don't mean to sound too, sometimes I stop, sometimes I get there and I'm like, this is not worth it. It really feels bad.
I'm done here. I'm out. Yeah.
But I think that's really where you get to the phase where if you have that proper reward system set up, I'm not talking about a beer on the couch afterwards. I'm talking about...
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. Is it like something like that?
Tangible.
Or what's the other...
Some of it's tangible.
Okay.
We do things...
Is that the whole point of Thirsty Thursday?
I think so. I think you have to have, those are tangible rewards.
Right.
But, some of it is physical and some of it's just mental. Like, what is your end game? To be the best you think you can be, you have to believe that there's some standards you're trying to reach and that you haven't reached it yet. That's why the greatest athletes are rarely satisfied with their performances, or if anybody out there has actually run a PR that you think immediately that that's not really your PR because it felt so easy that you're now going to do a new PR. And that's why, we all, as humans, we continue to struggle to improve. And I think that's where people fail as well. They don't set these defined reward principles, and you get to a point where you're just always saying, it wasn't my best day. And I would like to say now, you better pick a couple of those days because they don't always continue to happen. You want to rest on them and enjoy them.
Do you think runners can ever be truly satisfied?
I do, as a matter of fact.
Do you? Okay.
I do, yeah.
How? Because, you're just saying, and I've experienced this, you hit a PR, or for me, I've hit a PR and I'm like, but could I have gone a little bit faster? Could I have, I don't know. So how?
Well, here's the answer.
Okay.
You almost always could have gone a little bit faster. But could you have been better? On a given day and a given moment, you can't be any better than you think you are. And you can't change the circumstances that forced you into whatever your result was. So if you're running a 5K or marathon and you get to a stage where you don't believe you can go any faster, or you can go any harder, or you can beat the person next to you or whatever, then you don't do it. So those days when we had the PRs were the days when we did overcome and persevere. And I think the only way to be truly satisfied is to have, small goals and big goals.
Sure. Do you have like A, B, and C goals for your races that you do, or
the older I get, the A, D,
A, B, C, D,
and
F,
F also come into play.
Sure.
I do. I think some of them are time based.
Okay.
I'm 47, so some of those times are getting kind of blurry and a little more distant than I would like. I still imagine that I can do some of them, but I think my goals now are more around performance. I ran a marathon last year. Paula, my agent, signed me up for a race. Very short notice. I would say
Your
probably
agent.
24 hours notice for a marathon.
That's hilarious.
And I didn't run
Wait, what? 24 hours before the marathon?
Pretty much, yeah.
How does that work?
It's like this. We're at a place where there's a marathon happening. In this case, it was Pacific Crest. So, and we're there and we're working.
Oh, did Chad do this one with you?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think I've heard this. Or from him, but I don't hear your
He has
your
more
side.
of a struggle story than I do. So my story was essentially, Paula said, you should do the marathon with Chad. And it was hot and we'd been working pretty hard.
Okay.
And so I said, sure, but I'm in no shape to do a marathon. I just did Boston like 6 weeks before that. And so I didn't really think I was going to do it. And so we didn't run very fast at the beginning.
Sure.
For me, it didn't feel too fast. But I also thought I'd go 13 miles and then just hop out of this thing and go back to the booth and grab a beer or whatever and be fine. And as the race transpired, it became more sort of like evident that I was going to actually try to finish.
And a competitive fire started burning.
Yeah, and I was in, I think I was
in
in 8th or 9th place overall. And so I was like, I should probably start maybe trying to figure out what place I'm in.
Okay.
I looked up, saw a couple guys, caught them, went for a little while longer, really at like mile 16, thought I'm not going to make this. This is the end of my race. And then 17, I was like, I can't run another step. And 18, I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's hot. I don't see anybody. I don't even know what place I'm in. I might not even be on the course anymore. I don't know what I'm doing.
Are you delirious?
And then I looked up, and somebody said, you're in 3rd place. And I looked up, and I could see 2nd place. And I was like, what? All right, well, I got to go to see if I can catch this guy.
Of course.
And then long story short, caught that guy. And then was running a minute a mile slower than my slowest marathon probably in a long time. But I felt triumphant because I looked up and I saw the leader.
Wow.
At like mile 22, I could see him across this meadow. And I peeled him down like I was running through sand. I mean, I looked like I was knee deep in water. And I caught him at like mile 24 and a half. And I remember thinking, no one's going to know this when they look at the time, because the time was maybe 20 minutes slower. But the actual event, when I crossed the line, was like by far one of the most satisfying feelings.
Awesome.
Plus, people like my wife were surprised. And it's hard to surprise her because she kind of knows what I'm up to, and she's like, I can't believe you did that. And I'm like, yeah, me neither.
Yeah, where did that come from? Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things where I look back at that all the time. That fueled me for a long time. Made me feel pretty good about running and pretty good about goal setting and stuff.
I feel like most runners have a story like that where they went in with these super low expectations, and then something great happened, maybe not winning or whatever, but just something happened, and that it can fuel you for a long time. And I have this little thing where if I don't feel like running in the morning, like I still have to go, because I've never come back from one of those runs like disappointed that I did that. So it's like, how do you set, going back to those little goals, those little wins? Oh, that sounds like a big win.
Yeah, but really, honestly, it's a big win because, you can see it on the podium or whatever.
Exactly.
But really, anybody who has had the experience you're describing, it can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be in a race even.
Right.
And it's always that sort of old notion that the hardest steps are those first steps.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything you do, the hardest steps are the first steps, and including a run where you're just trying to get by. Then you trick yourself into getting out the door, and then you trick yourself into going a mile, and then 2, and then you reach your goal
3,
or whatever.
4,
come back home and you feel great.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have to get through those little thresholds.
So a lot of our events, or all of our events, are 5Ks. They're untimed. They're very much catered for. I mean, we invite everybody. I don't want to say, all abilities welcome to them, but they tend to be a lot of like newer runners or people who maybe aren't real familiar with the kind of race scene. And it's fun. I've gotten to know a few of these people who've done a lot of our events, and some of them has said, if I started running between these races you guys do, it might get easier. I'm like, yeah, you might want to try that. So I'm wondering what your one best tip is, and we've maybe talked around it already, but for those people who are, they're just having trouble getting out the door. They're just having trouble. They're not looking to do anything fancy. Maybe it's running twice a week or once a week outside of this, event is kind of their thing. Is there any mantra or, other thing that you would suggest beyond what we've already talked about?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not sure if this is beyond that, but I think, and this is going to sound pretty boring, but be deliberate and be consistent.
Yes.
I think what happens to a lot of new runners and walkers is they come to the Brunch series, they run a 5K, and then they say something like that. Maybe if I ran once in between 5Ks, I might be a little better at it.
And they like it. It feels good. Like they feel good about themselves.
Sure,
they
and the social stuff starts kicking in, and the competitive stuff maybe starts kicking in, and then they sign up for a longer.
Endorphins.
Right. And so then they start training harder, and then they start scrubbing the pages that they can find for advice on running and running equipment, and then the next thing you know, they're running,
which they can get here. Any running equipment you need,
absolutely, yes.
Come down here to Portland Running Company, Southeast Grand and Morrison.
PortlandRunningCompany.com. Yeah. But then you get a little bit crazy sometimes, and you add in too many miles, or you add in too long of a run, or you don't get the equipment you need because you think it's not time for you yet, and that's where we see, if you're not deliberate, set out. I would say if you can plan your weeks. I mean, most of us know what day is today. Tuesday.
Yes.
Most of us know what day it is. I didn't.
Except this guy.
Didn't work that well.
Yeah.
But we know it's going to happen on Friday.
Right.
We have an idea. If you have a family, you know what's going on. You need to be deliberate and work out those times so that you're planning your running and walking in a time frame that makes sense for everybody, including you. And then if you do that, you can get really good. You cannot get better if you're injured, which is where almost everybody I talk to has fallen backwards as they get hurt, and usually it's from a training mistake, some sort of maybe too many miles or too much running, and
just doing it too faster than they should in a short period of time or whatever.
Yeah, sunny day comes along, and this is very common. Sunny day comes along.
Let's go do 15 miles.
Yeah, Joe goes out and he's like, I'm just going to hammer this because it feels so good. And he's in old shoes and he gets chafed, and his ankles hurt, and then it's really hard to go back out on that next day when it's rainy in May.
Yeah.
Like right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty nice now. Maybe
it's really nice.
It's going to be rainy when you go later.
Yeah,
perhaps,
so consistency and being deliberate. Those are the two things that you can do that are really boring that will help you with actually everything in life. But with running and walking, it gets you a free pass to feeling organized and simple things like getting your laundry done so you don't have to sift through.
Or just buying 4 pairs of shorts.
Yeah.
Or 5 or whatever, so then that's not an excuse. And assuming you do laundry more than once, or at least once a week, then...
Or run less than 4 times a week. One of the two.
Or that, yeah.
You got to figure it out. But yeah, getting the right equipment, getting it all lined up, and making it easy on yourself.
Yeah. Well, what I love about that advice is that it's so simple. And I think often, going back to teaching, is that people just need to be reminded of stuff they already know. It's not necessarily like, here's the answer, here's the new key to success. It's just being reminded of doing the hard work, of putting the time in, of being deliberate and all that stuff. There's a great book I'm reading right now called Grit. Have you heard of that? Familiar with it?
Not familiar.
So it's basically success has nothing to do with talent. It's all about working hard. And if you take 2 people or one person who's twice as talented, but the other person works twice as hard, they will outperform them all the time because of this whole equation and formula. It doesn't mean that you can go and accomplish anything that you want to, but I think it's so relevant, especially to runners, and consistency, deliberate, get out there. And really, I think it's also setting goals, right? At the beginning of deciding, it's like, okay, I just want to complete this event or race. You don't have to all of a sudden shoot for the moon and be like, I'm going to qualify for Boston. Well, you've never run a 5K. That's probably not the first step.
Exactly. Yeah. Finding clear pathways to success is great. I like the analogy about talent versus hard working, because the greatest athletes are the ones that are, in fact, the hardest working and the most talented. Right.
And there's a certain level you have to have some level of talent. Like, I'm never going to go run the Olympics. You might. I don't know.
I don't think so.
But there's
time might be past.
Well, but trying to be optimistic here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want to switch gears a little bit. One of the things at the Oregon Brew Running Series is we're all about being active, which we've talked a lot about, and giving back. 2 of our nonprofit partners are the Portland Parks Foundation and then the Brew Shed Alliance. You can Google that, look it up. There'll be a link here. I know that you guys are involved in giving back and into the community. Talk a little bit about that and your program with the Union Gospel.
Well, it is about over a year ago, Paula and her group were running on the waterfront, and there was a significant homeless problem as we've seen it grow and ebb and continues to be, sometimes flow in a way that is highly impactful, and if not to sound socially insensitive, also inconvenient. You can put up with homelessness when it's somewhere where you're not.
Right.
But when it's on the waterfront, on the paths that you run, you have to make some decisions. And I think Paula's big decision was initially she's like, I'm going to organize a cleanup, and it was kind of this shot where she's like, I can mobilize people. We as a store and as an event company, we can mobilize people into doing things.
Right.
So we're like, we're going to go clean this thing up. We got a little note from the city that was like, that's a good idea, except we're going to do that for you.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do that clear up thing for you.
Problem solved, right?
And so we didn't really know what that meant, because we were like, we still want to do something. And Paula really dug in deep and found this Union Gospel Mission Avenue where they had previously a sort of a running club type thing. And so Paula went down there and has spearheaded this effort almost 100%.
It's pretty cool.
To take people from our community and from and not just the running community, but all over the community, but certainly from the Portland Running Company community, and introduce them to the men of UGM who are, in many cases, they're on different paths to recovery. Either from substance abuse or some other types of troubles. Lots of troubles.
Sure.
Lots of legal troubles, lots of stuff that none of us have ever had to go through.
Right.
And she introduces running as sort of a mechanism for them to be healthy for 45 minutes a day or whatever it is, And it's been incredible. It really has. The support that UGM has shown us, too. I mean, some of these guys don't have a lot in the tank to give back, and yet are very loyal and very helpful. And
that's awesome.
And develop this kind of two-way positivity that is fantastic.
Do you find that is it just men, or is it men and women?
Union Gospel Mission is 2 different campuses. So they have a men's campus downtown, and that is just right there on 3rd. And that is where Paula spent most of the time. But we also have a connection to the women's UGM, and that's located on another campus. And about once a month, go there. We've donated shoes and product to all of these people because that was the easiest thing to do.
Sure.
Right, and sometimes, I mean, obviously, every time you can throw money at something like that, it's a good thing for that program.
Right. Maybe in the short term.
And in the short term, you can make a pretty big impact, and we welcome that. Certainly, that's part of the goal. And so getting all the product and everybody is great. But Paula has, I mean, I want to say I do too. I have an ability to connect, but I spend a lot of time doing the mechanics of the stores. So she has this opportunity with her event company and with their role at PRC to be more the community outreach person. And it's been a great connection. It's just a phenomenal thing, and we can see it like virtually every day. We can see and feel it as we take our runs from here, and
how it changes this area.
And we run past the areas that have been kind of nameless faces, and now we run by them when we think that guy could probably use the services of UGM, or that person is on their way to a bad street, and we might be able to help out that way.
That's awesome. How does it work just logistically? Like, you guys just show up there and, hey, let's go for a run? Or is there a little bit more education than that? Or
it's pretty regimented, actually.
I'm curious, because I imagine that it's not. They don't just let anybody in there.
They don't, no, and you can't actually leave the program. You can't leave the campus there, the building, without going through a few stages with UGM. Like, you can't just come into UGM, be admitted to the program, and then go for a jog, because they have really strict guidelines. So you have to get through a few stages to be able to go out, and you have to be supervised first. So and the runs are a vehicle with some supervision, where UGM makes sure that guys aren't just going out on their own and putting themselves back out into these temptation areas.
Right.
So it's, she goes down once a week on those days with a set of mentors, probably 4 or 5 or 6 at any given time.
Okay.
Sometimes lots of times, a couple of our neighbors do it. A couple of girls from our Hoodie Coast team go down, and they just rotate through, and they provide guidance. Sometimes quiet running partner is all they have to do. Sometimes it's a little more. Some of the guys in the group, I think, like to connect and share, and so that's how it works. So it's the run group meets on Mondays and runs specifically. Okay. They run 4, 5, 6 miles.
Oh wow!
And then these guys develop a program from that running, and they get a lot of advice from Paula on how to do it and when to do it.
Okay.
And she even takes them to the track sometimes, which is a pretty cool thing. Because,
which one? Dunaway or
Lincoln, I think, is where
Okay.
it's easiest to get there and run a few laps or whatever, and that's always kind of a fun thing, because everyone remembers doing that once in PE class or something.
Right,
so,
exactly.
It's
track and field day or something.
I'm sure that it's challenging and also pretty rewarding.
Yeah,
so.
That's cool. How can people get involved if they want to, I don't know, donate or run or just somehow get involved with that program?
I think there's 2 ways, probably the best ways to do it. One is if you're interested in UGM and what they do, just go to their website, Union Gospel Mission. They have a couple of contact links on there, and I'm sure that they can help direct your energies. Paula goes down on Friday mornings and serves breakfast as another way of reaching out instead of waiting till Thanksgiving or whatever. She just does it every Friday, and it is not glamorous, and it's something that I think some people would find to be extremely rewarding and that they need. There's a lot of opportunities there, and then as far as in the group, there's some volunteering criteria that you have to go through. You could probably, I would say, reach out to UGM as well for that.
Okay. So that's all done through them.
We'll let them manage,
not through the store.
I would say we let UGM manage some of that, because they have criteria. If you're just not sure how to contribute, then certainly reach out to the store.
Okay.
You can use that info at portlandrunningcompany.com.
Gotcha.
And just put in the subject header, UGM.
Okay.
And we can
direct
sift through it and make sure that we give you the right resources. Okay.
I know that maybe, I don't know, a year ago or 6 months ago, I brought a whole bag of just old race shirts and other stuff that, I think someone sent out an email or Facebook, and it's like, I don't need all this stuff anymore. There's no reason to have 18 or 20 different technical shirts. So I, donated a bunch. And so can people still do that? Is that an ongoing need?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we can. In fact, we'll do a couple of organized things, I think, this year, where you can actually bring your running clothes down, because you can donate to UGM anytime, and they have a thrift shop, and they have some ways to go through it. But if you have running clothes that you want to get on the group that runs, there might be a better way to do that. So you can let, if you have some stuff that's gently used or things that you don't use, just put it in a bag, put UGM on it, bring it to one of the 2 stores. We'll make sure it gets down to
get
UGM.
It to the right spot.
Yeah.
What about running shoes? Because I know that some runners are very meticulous about, 300 miles and boom, they're done with the shoe. But I've also heard that, modern running shoes actually have a bit more life out of them. Is that something that people, or those tend to be too beat up to be recycled in that way?
No, we have a process for our donations where we, the worst of the shoes go to get reground and torn up and turned into playgrounds.
Sure.
The next worst, or the next better tier, is divided up into either donation, to UGM or donation to another center that wouldn't be running in them, so like Goodwill or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And then the top tier of the shoes that either people give to us or in some cases they get returned, we sift through for sizes and performance to see if they're okay to be used still.
Oh.
A lot of these guys are going from really bad shoes to your worst shoe would be their best shoe. So you can always use us as the criteria for whether or not we decide your shoes are okay. If you're not sure, put them in a big box and bring them in.
Bring them down. Okay.
And we'll go through them. A lot of people say, do you donate shoes or do you reuse shoes? And we say, yep. And then we go through it and make sure that they go to the right spot.
I'm glad I asked because you know those huge blue IKEA shopping bags?
I do.
I've got one full of old running shoes that my wife would love to get out of the garage.
Right. I would say to your wife, Nathan, tell you to bring them down and get them out of your
I will tell
house.
her to tell me to bring them down, and you guys will sift through. And that's awesome. I didn't realize that because they're, I don't know how reusable they are, but it's cool that I don't have to decide.
Don't even worry about it. We can give them a twist and a tug and a pull and figure out where they go.
Love it.
And it's our job.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Dave, I don't want to take up your whole day here, but how long have you lived in Portland now?
I am at, I would say, 98. So 19 years.
Almost, I was going to say almost 20 years.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, I want to do some rapid fire Portland things.
I thought you were going to say you want to do some rap.
Oh, some rap.
I'm
could you?
Get up on it. Let's do this thing.
No, that would not be fun at least on my side of it.
I don't know.
Rapid fire Portland things.
All right, let's see how we do.
So you can take a second to think, but all right, what is your favorite place to run in Portland? And we'll say it Greater Portland, Beaverton.
Yeah,
whatever.
no, I can do it. It's very isolated.
Okay.
I love the East Springwater corridor, the east side along the river.
Okay.
I know it seems weird because it's kind of a boring section of the path. It's fenced off.
Yeah.
It's straight.
Yeah.
And it simulates for me among the most challenging places to run because it is virtually straight and flat as you can get in Portland.
It's true.
And for me, for training and for running, we live in a kind of hilly spot, so it's my favorite place by far. I want to say it's Leif Erikson or Wildwood because I love running there, but I literally go there once every couple months, and I go down to the waterfront once or twice a week.
Sure. So when you say east side, is that down just past OMSI? Is that kind of that
just
area
past OMSI.
and beyond?
Yep, they converted the railroad tracks a while back,
right.
And they made that great path with it's fenced just all the way down to the Selwood Bridge. It's 3 miles from that last turn to where the path comes out, and so it's a great spot to work out, but it's also just a tranquil place to run.
Yeah.
And it's quiet.
There's
and
that one little dip, like kind of in the middle.
It can seem like a massive dip. It's like it's like a bike underpass, and it seems like a giant hill if you're really tired. But it is a great place to train. Yeah. Great place to see the activities that people take on with the cycling and running and walking to get around town too.
And then you can go hang out at Oaks Park after.
Yeah, exactly. Do some bumper carring.
Yeah. This question might not be fair. But what's your favorite race or race series we'll even just say Oregon?
Not fair. Removing my bias for a minute, let's see.
Right.
What did
your bias, what would that be from?
Any Run With Paul event, anytime.
RunWithPaulEvents.com.
Any Portland Running Company Run With Paul event at www.runwithpaula.com.
Okay.
I will answer honestly that I don't get to run some of what I would think would be my favorite races. Because I think we have a race at Willamette Mission State Park. We did the course there. It's a massive park with a wide, super newly paved entry road. And if I was a runner and I could run that course, that's what I would run.
The Willamette State Park?
Willamette Mission State Park.
Willamette Mission State Park. And what distance is that?
It's 5K, 10K, half marathon.
Okay.
So, but I mean, I would run a marathon there in a heartbeat. It's like,
that sounds fun.
To me, it's a perfect place to run. It's rolling and flat, and it's scenic. But it's not scenic in a way that makes you think we're just tricking people into running a hilly course.
Which is sometimes what people do. Yeah.
And I think after that, I think probably one of my favorite events of all time is Shamrock Run. I think everyone does it.
Yes.
I think for me, running the 15K for so many years, I thought Shamrock Run was the great opportunity to see top-tier athletes and everyday athletes in the same playing field.
Yeah.
And it was a great day for me. I mentioned my parents are both from Ireland, so it's always a celebratory day.
That's right. Yeah.
And the course itself, running the way it used to run up to Williger, just seemed like it was just perfect. It was a perfect challenge, perfect finish, 3 miles downhill. You get done. There's a big giant beer garden band. It was like, it's a great event. It's a good time of year to. And
there's something about those massive races when you're there's just people everywhere that it might not be a great opportunity to really PR if you're worried about people walking in front of you, but it is so fun. There's something about that energy that that is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, your favorite post-run brunch spot or breakfast spot or I'll kind of leave it open-ended that way.
Besides rushing home so that we can get onto our giant back patio and have a big cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I would say we don't do that very often, but in the past we have gone to a place called Cafe Du Barry. It's in John's Landing, and they do this ridiculous thing.
Okay.
They take French toast. I don't know how they do it, but they take French toast and they put like vanilla pudding in the middle.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if it's vanilla pudding. I can't.
Well, that sounds tremendous.
I can't get it tremendously intelligent description, but that's what it feels like. And there's powdered sugar on the outside, so it's like 2 pieces of bread. And they did that and egg and do it like French toast, but in the middle is some sort of like liquidy goodness. Like it's
like a custard, like a donut
I
filling
guess.
kind of a thing.
I used to think it was just really saturated French toast.
Yeah, like raw egg.
Kind of, yeah. But then that would gross me out, so I turned it into vanilla pudding.
Okay.
But Cafe Du Barry in John's Landing is that when we did do that kind of stuff, that was where we ended up going a lot because it was just like the best French toast I've ever tasted in my entire life. Yeah.
French toast is very good.
There you go.
Okay, what's your favorite, and this is in quotes, night on the town restaurant? So maybe a nicer place that you and Paula might go to celebrate something, or I don't know, just a nicer place.
Is there a question about a not so nice place? Because we really like the not so nice places as well. But let me see if I can.
I was gonna go there for more of an everyday like grab and go place too, but
yeah, we're actually we live outside of the city,
right?
So coming to the city is kind of by itself a big event. So like we can go to any steakhouse anywhere, and pretty much it feels like kind of a big event.
That's fancy. Okay.
So we have on holidays or whatever, we've gone to Portland City Grill and thought that was great. We've gone to Roost Chris, which is like a stock steakhouse, which is great. There's a place downtown that we really liked when we went called Fogo de Chao.
Yes,
and they bring so I would say
Brazilian steakhouse.
Yeah, so in the last year I would say that was probably the one that made the biggest impact. Where we were like, what are they doing? They're just bringing meat around, and every time I take a bite, they would just, it's like pouring water at a normal place where you take a sip of water and they pour more water. I'd take a bite of meat and they'd be over with like another thing of meat. So
it's like, come on, people. So I have a question from the Facebook Live audience. What are a couple of your favorite workouts? And let's just say your favorite workout in the interest of time, unless there are too many to choose from.
I would say that any of my workouts that are my most favorite are the ones that trick my legs into going fast at the beginning so that I can run tempo at the end. And what I mean by that is if you have it with workouts, you have a couple of different options. You can run intervals, right? Or you can run a tempo run, which is like an up tempo portion of your run. Sometimes those are difficult by themselves, like running mile repeats is hard. Running a 5 mile tempo by itself is hard. So what I've started doing the last couple of years is I've inserted a go fast portion of the workout to begin with. And so one example of a workout that I've really embraced in the last couple of years is I run a mile of 100 on, 100 off, or sort of roughly 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off.
Like a fartlek a little bit?
Yeah, and then I keep going and run a mile at 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off. And I run another mile, and that mile is going to be a minute on, 20 seconds off. And so I'm increasing the distance I run within these times, like a fartlek.
Sure.
So that's just 3 miles. I time out the 3 miles. I don't pace. I don't measure the distances, and then I go into a tempo run. And almost always the tempo run is going to be slower than those speed intervals. So if I say I want to run, hypothetically, I want to run 5 minutes and 30 seconds per mile for a tempo. Yeah. For me now, at my age, to go out and just do it, it's very hard for me to get my legs going.
Sure.
So I do these things to trick myself into getting my legs moving, and then I do the 5:30 pace.
Interesting.
And for some athletes, it's not going to work because you don't have the base or you don't have the endurance. For me, I feel like I can run for a really long time. That's kind of my skill now. I can just run for a long time. Yeah. But it takes me a really long time to warm up.
It's like you're like a large ship. You just like once you get moving, it's hard to stop you.
I have a large capacity, but I take a long time to turn. So that's this thing. We have a little philosophy. I think probably came out of Linfield called "When the Rubber Meets the Road," and so there's a lot of workouts we do where we hit the track and then the road. Okay. So I'll just wrap this up really quickly. But that's another one of my favorites to get away from the static nature of doing anything for over and over again. Last week we did a 2 mile tempo. Then we went out on the roads and ran 2 minutes on, 1 minute off.
Okay.
Just measure. We don't clock distances on these things. It's a very important part of it.
It's all about time.
So these 2 minutes on are faster than we were running the tempo. Right. And then we came back to the track, and at a long way into the workout, 8 miles or 9 miles into the workout, we did another 2 mile tempo. And so you have then pushed yourself into this realm where you're
brutal.
Well, you feel tired, but you do things like one of the guys ran exactly the same time for the first 2 miles as he did for the last 2 miles. With
wow, that's That's huge.
4.5 miles in the middle at a pretty good workload. So anything you can do to mix it up a little bit, I think, for these kinds of workouts. Your body doesn't know when you're running the fastest paces. It just knows, that it has to
keep tricking it, right? And just keep giving it a different variety. And
yeah, and I mean, in our house we have only 2 people that run, and we don't agree on this philosophy. I think you have to do some things to trick yourself into doing it. And Paula is very much a realist. She likes to know exactly what she's doing, how far it is, how fast it is. Sometimes I have to go Walter Mitty on that and get a little more imaginative and
and start sailing up in the sky.
Yeah, exactly.
I read something, I don't know which coach it was, but he would do, I can't remember if he was on a bike, but he would tell his athletes he would blow a whistle and they'd have to start at some faster pace, but they would have no idea how long they were going to do that. And the idea was, in a race, when your opponent starts to kick or whatever, you don't know, and so you just have to trick your body, say, all right, we're going this fast until we either fall down or puke or finish or something. And
and you don't know how fast you're supposed to go, because you don't know if it's going to be 30 seconds.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great way to get some work out of any athlete. Really, I think everybody's just looking for somebody to tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
So, like, if people say, do you coach or do you have a coach? And I always ask them, my first question is, well, what are you trying to get accomplished? Because I think it'd be nice if you had a coach. If you had a coach or I had a coach, it's nice to have that, but it usually means you want somebody to tell you what to do.
Right.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And monitor.
And if you're not willing to be teachable like that, it doesn't really matter how good your coach is. So
exactly.
All right, my last question for you: what is your favorite? And we'll say Oregon-based. It could be Portland-based. Beer or brewery?
Oh, that's pretty easy.
Is that pretty easy too? Okay.
Well, there's 2.
Whenever I ask people, they're like,
I'm going to go with my favorite brewery.
Okay.
Which is Rogue.
Ah.
And I like Rogue for a couple reasons. Yeah. One is I think that they have long held this sort of iconoclastic thing where they look like they're not mainstream. But their business is mainstream.
It's very much mainstream.
So their distribution is fantastic, and they have this giant facility in Newport that's huge, and they make a ton of beer, and they send it all over the world. Right.
And another one right over here.
Right.
Thursday after.
Right there.
Thursday evenings where we go for our Thursday.
Yeah, it used to be the Green Dragon. Now it's this kind of East Side thing, and so I love that because I think their beer is great. I think they're super creative with the way they craft their beer and the way they market their beer. They make it seem like if you don't drink Rogue, you're just really not that cool. You know what I mean? That's just kind of how it goes down.
Which, might be true. I don't know. I don't want to get...
Yeah, but then I think for the favorite single brew, I'd have to go with Boneyard RPM. Okay. It's just a great...
Which one?
RPM. It's just a great IPA that Paul and I like to drink, and it's just got the right balance of... I just won't with beer nerd here, but the right balance of...
Nerd out. This is the Oregon Brew running series.
Alcohol and IBUs, just the right amount of everything to me.
Well balanced,
and, it's very balanced, and it still feels kind of cool to drink. It's still kind of an Oregon-ish thing, and we, there's lots of other breweries, and they're all great, and we drink a lot of IPA, so it's an easy pick for us around here. It's really hard when you go to the South or the East Coast, you ask for an IPA, and they have one if they have one, and then
it's just called IPA.
It's got a big black label that says IPA on it. So by Bud.
Yeah, exactly. Which is don't say that.
But yeah, anyway, that's we love beer, and we love Rogue, and we really enjoy Boneyard. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, thanks so much for the conversation, and thanks again for all of this. And for all of you guys, if you want to come down here and get fitted for shoes, they're really good at that. They won't make you feel dumb if you have no idea what you're talking about. You can buy sports bras or just anything you'd ever possibly need. I don't know. That's just right there.
You can buy sports bras.
Rollers and flip-flops and lots of socks behind us is what you can see. So come here for all of your running needs. And they also have a great online store too, and you guys ship or deliver, or they can pick up here.
Yeah, we have all those options.
All of those options.
Yep. So. And we actually just launched the new one last week. So you can hop on there and take a look. It's very easy and kind of cool. So if you're looking for shoes or anything.
And for the next 24 hours, everything is free.
Free. Super Dave is going crazy.
But if you'd like to register for one of our runs, you can do it for free if you use code PRC-FREE or PRC5, and that was just $5 off. But well, Dave, thanks again. I'm going to hop up.
You're welcome.
I'm going to turn that thing off, but
great job. I'll sing us out.
Thanks for your, sing us out, please.
All of me, why not take all of me?